Welcome back to Life 365. You know, the world's a crazy place. And today we're diving into the dark side, the shadowy underworld of criminal empires. We're talking about the baddest of the bad, the most successful criminal organizations in history. These are the guys who make billions, and not by selling lemonade, you know. Drugs, weapons, human trafficking, you name it, they've done it. And they've gotten away with it for years, sometimes decades. We're talking about organizations so powerful they make governments look weak. They've got their fingers in everything. Politics, finance, even Hollywood. So buckle up because we're about to go deep into the belly of the beast. We're going to expose their secrets, their tactics, and the insane amount of power they wield. Let's do it. All right, kicking off our list at number 1, the reigning champs, the heavyweight champions of the criminal underworld, the Sinaloa Cartel. These guys have been dominating the scene for decades, and their influence only seems to grow stronger with time. These guys are in a league of their own. They've got it all. A global network, ruthless enforcers, and a bottomless supply of cash. Their operations span continents, and their reach is almost unfathomable. And they're not afraid to use it. We're talking about billions upon billions of dollars in revenue every year. This kind of money buys power, influence, and the ability to operate with near impunity. They have been active since 1980s to present over 40 years with an annual revenue, estimated at $3 billion US. They control the drug trade from the poppy fields of Mexico all the way to the streets of America and beyond. Their distribution network is incredibly sophisticated, ensuring their products reach every corner of the globe. Cocaine, heroin, meth, you name it, they move it. Their product line is diverse, catering to various markets and demands, making them a one-stop shop for illicit substances. And the craziest part is, they're practically untouchable. They've infiltrated governments, corrupted officials, and built a network so vast it's almost impossible to dismantle. Their influence extends into the highest echelons of power. You see, what makes the Sinaloa Cartel so fascinating, so damn successful, is their ability to adapt. They are masters of innovation, constantly evolving their tactics to stay ahead of law enforcement. They're like a virus. Every time the authorities think they've got them cornered, they mutate, they evolve, they find a new way to thrive. Their resilience is nothing short of remarkable. They've survived assassination attempts, internal power struggles, and even the capture of their most notorious leader, El Chapo. Yet, these setbacks only seem to make them stronger. But they always come back stronger, more ruthless. Their ability to regroup and reorganize is unparalleled, ensuring their continued dominance. It's like something out of a movie. These guys are playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers. Their strategic acumen is what sets them apart from other criminal organizations. They're always 10 steps ahead. Their foresight and planning capabilities are extraordinary, allowing them to anticipate and counteract threats before they materialize. The Sinaloa Cartel is a testament to the brutal efficiency of organized crime. Their operations are meticulously planned and executed with precision, leaving little room for error. They are the ultimate apex predator in the global drug trade, and their reign at the top doesn't look like it's ending anytime soon. Their legacy is cemented in the annals of criminal history, and their story is far from over. Coming in at number 2, we've got another heavy hitter from Mexico, Los Zetas. Now, these guys are a different breed. They are not just another cartel, they are a paramilitary force. They have been active since 1999 to present over 20 years with an annual revenue, estimated at $2 billion US. While the Sinaloa Cartel might be known for their business acumen, Los Zetas are all about brute force. They operate with a level of aggression and violence that is unparalleled. We're talking about extreme violence, the kind of stuff that would make even the most hardened cartel member squirm. Their brutality is legendary, and they use it as a tool to instill fear. These guys don't mess around. They are known for their no-nonsense approach and willingness to go to any lengths to achieve their goals. What's truly wild about Los Zetas is their origin story. Unlike other cartels that evolved from drug trafficking families, Los Zetas were formed by deserters from an elite Mexican Special Forces unit. These were not just any soldiers, they were the best of the best. These guys were trained killers, experts in weapons, tactics, and counterintelligence. Their military training gave them a significant edge over other criminal organizations. They brought that military discipline to the cartel world, and it changed the game forever. Their operations were more organized, more efficient, and far more deadly. They were more organized, more ruthless, and more willing to use extreme violence to get what they wanted. Their military background made them a formidable force, and what they wanted was power. Absolute power over territories, smuggling routes, and the people within them. Los Zetas quickly gained a reputation for themselves as the most feared cartel in Mexico. Their name alone was enough to send shivers down the spine of anyone who heard it. They controlled smuggling routes, terrorized communities, and even challenged the dominance of the Sinaloa cartel. Their influence spread like wildfire, but they didn't stop there. They were not content with just drug trafficking. Los Zetas diversified their portfolio, expanding into human trafficking, extortion, and even oil theft. They saw opportunities in every illegal activity. They were like a criminal octopus, their tentacles reaching into every corner of the Mexican underworld. Their operations were vast and varied. They were making so much money, it was insane. Their criminal enterprises brought in billions of dollars. But all that violence, all that bloodshed, it eventually caught up with them. The cost of their brutality was high. Internal power struggles, combined with a relentless government crackdown, weakened the cartel. Their once unbreakable grip on power began to slip. All right, so at number 3, we're talking about the Sicilian Mafia, right? These guys are the real deal. They've been around for centuries, operating in the shadows, pulling strings, active since 1860s to present over 160 years, with an annual revenue estimated at $4 billion US. It's like something out of The Godfather, you know? This code of silence they have, Omerta, it's intense. You don't rat on your friends, you don't talk to the cops, you keep your mouth shut. It's part of their whole mystique, this wall of secrecy. It makes them seem even more powerful, more dangerous. They've got this grip on Sicilian society. It's like they're woven into the fabric of the island, and they're involved in everything, drugs, extortion, you name it. They've got their fingers in all the pies, and the crazy thing is, they're still going strong. They've weathered all the storms, all the crackdowns. They're like cockroaches, they just keep coming back. They've got this resilience, this ability to adapt. It's wild. They're like a force of nature. You've got to respect their organization, their discipline. They're not messing around, these guys. They're playing for keeps. It's a whole different world, the world of the Sicilian Mafia. It's fascinating and terrifying at the same time. So, we're moving on to number 4, the Triads, right? These guys are straight out of a Bruce Lee movie. They've got this long, mysterious history going back centuries. They have been active since 17th century to present over 300 years, with an annual revenue estimated at $50 billion US. They were originally these secret societies in ancient China, right? Like fighting against oppression, upholding justice, all that stuff. But over time they evolved. They got into organized crime. And now they're a global force, just like the Mafia. They're involved in everything. Drugs, human trafficking, gambling, you name it. They're making billions. And they're ruthless too. They don't mess around. They've got this reputation for being incredibly violent. They've got these elaborate initiation ceremonies too, like with oaths of secrecy and loyalty. It's all very ritualistic, very symbolic. They take their traditions seriously. It's like a brotherhood, you know, they're tight-knit, they look out for each other. But that also makes them hard to infiltrate. They've got this code of silence. Just like the Mafia. You don't talk to the cops, you don't betray your brothers. It's all very secretive, very shadowy. It's like trying to fight a ghost. Now we're going to Italy again at number 5, but this time it's Naples. We're talking about the Camorra. These guys are like the Mafia's crazy cousins. They're even more ruthless, even more unpredictable. They operate in the shadows, just like the Mafia, but they're more chaotic, more fragmented. They have been active since 1800s to present over 200 years with an annual revenue estimated at 4.9 billion US dollars. They're all about family too, but it's not like this hierarchical structure like the mafia. It's more like a bunch of different clans, all vying for power. They're constantly fighting each other, forming alliances, betraying each other. It's like a soap opera, but with a lot more violence. And they're deeply embedded in Neapolitan society. They control entire neighborhoods. They're involved in everything from garbage disposal to construction to drug trafficking. They're like a state within a state. They've got their fingers in every pie. And they're not afraid to use violence to get what they want. They're known for their brutality, their ruthlessness. They'll kill anyone who gets in their way, even women and children. They're cold-blooded. All right, coming in at number 6, we got the Russian Mafia. You might know them as the Bratva. These guys are hardcore. They rose up right out of the ashes of the Soviet Union when it all went down. They have been active since 1991 to present, over 30 years, with an annual revenue estimated at 8 billion US dollars. Talk about a power vacuum, right? These dudes stepped right in and they were ruthless. We're talking about some serious organized muscle. I mean, they were ex-military, ex-KGB. They knew how to operate in the shadows, how to make moves, and they weren't afraid to use violence to get what they wanted. And they wanted everything. And it wasn't just your typical mob stuff, though they had that on lock. They were into arms dealing, smuggling nuclear material, that's some scary stuff. Human trafficking, you name it. They were like the Walmart of organized crime, and they were good at it. Really good. See, the fall of the Soviet Union, it wasn't just about politics and economics, it was about the void it left behind. The Bratva, they filled that void and they became this global force. You start messing with these guys, you're going to have a bad time. All right, at number 7, we got the OGs of the cocaine game, the Medellin Cartel. These guys were the real deal back in the 80s and 90s. They were active since 1976 to 1993, 17 years, with an annual revenue estimated at 60 billion US dollars at its peak. They were moving mountains of cocaine and making more money than anyone could even imagine. And you've got to talk about the mastermind, the guy who turned this whole thing into a global empire. Pablo Escobar. This dude was like a rock star, a folk hero, and a ruthless killer all rolled into one. He was charismatic, he was feared, and he was swimming in more money than he knew what to do with. I mean, we're talking billions with a B every single year. They controlled the entire supply chain, from the coca fields in the Andes all the way to the streets of Miami and beyond. They had their own planes, their own submarines, they were bribing entire governments, they were untouchable. It was like something out of a movie, except this was real life. And the violence, it was off the charts. Escobar, he didn't hesitate to take out anyone who got in his way. Judges, politicians, journalists, rival gangsters, nobody was safe. All right, we're heading over to Italy for number 8. But we're not talking about the mafia this time. We're talking about the Endretta. They have been active since 1790s to present over 230 years with an annual revenue estimated at 50 billion US dollars. These guys are like the silent assassins of organized crime. They fly under the radar, they don't seek out the spotlight, but they are a force to be reckoned with. They're based down in Calabria, which is like the toe of Italy's boot. And for a long time, people thought they were just a bunch of country bumpkins, small-time crooks, but they were wrong. While everyone was focused on the Sicilian Mafia, the Endretta, they were quietly building up their empire. And their specialty, cocaine. These guys, they control a huge chunk of the cocaine trade coming into Europe from South America. They're like the invisible hand guiding the whole operation. They've got their tentacles everywhere. They're in bed with corrupt politicians, they've infiltrated businesses, they're even involved in renewable energy projects. And they're smart about it. They keep a low profile, they value family and tradition, and they operate under a strict code of silence called omerta. You don't mess with family and you don't talk to the cops. That's how they've managed to stay one step ahead of the game for so long. Their influence stretches far beyond Calabria, reaching into the highest echelons of power. They've mastered the art of blending in, making it nearly impossible for authorities to pin them down. Their operations are so sophisticated that even seasoned investigators find it challenging to keep up. The Ndrangheta's ability to adapt and evolve with the times has made them one of the most formidable criminal organizations in the world. They are not just a local threat, they are a global powerhouse in the underworld. All right, let's delve into one of the most notorious drug trafficking organizations in the world, the Sinaloa Cartel. Active since the 1980s to the present, that's over 40 years, with an annual revenue estimated at a staggering $3 billion. Led by infamous figures like Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, the Sinaloa Cartel controls large portions of Mexico's drug trade, exporting billions of dollars worth of narcotics to the United States and beyond. These guys operate with military precision, employing sophisticated smuggling techniques, from tunnels to submarines. But it's not just drugs. The Sinaloa Cartel has its fingers in many pies, from money laundering to arms trafficking. They've built a vast network of alliances and enforcers, making them a formidable force in the criminal underworld. Their influence stretches far and wide, corrupting officials and waging bloody turf wars against rival cartels. Despite numerous crackdowns and the high-profile capture of El Chapo, the Sinaloa Cartel remains resilient, adapting and evolving to maintain their stronghold on the drug trade. Their story is one of power, corruption, and an unrelenting pursuit of dominance in the global narcotics market. All right, let's switch gears now and head over to Japan, home of the Yakuza at number 10. These guys are like the samurai of organized crime. They've been around for centuries. Active since 1600s to present, over 400 years, with an annual revenue estimated at $6 billion. They have this whole code of honor and loyalty, but they're also involved in some seriously shady stuff. Extortion, gambling, drug trafficking, you name it. And they're not afraid to use violence to get what they want. They're known for their brutal tactics and strict hierarchy. These guys are deeply ingrained in Japanese society, with ties to business, politics, and even entertainment. It's a fascinating and complex culture of crime. But here's the thing about the Yakuza, they're not just some underground gang. They have a very visible presence in Japan. They're involved in construction, finance, real estate. They even have their own businesses and publications. It's wild. They're like a legitimate part of society, even though they're involved in all sorts of criminal activities. And they have this whole code of conduct and tradition that goes back centuries. It's like a weird mix of ancient values and modern-day crime. And that's our list of the 10 most successful criminal organizations in history. We've gone deep into the belly of the beast with this one. From the cartels of Mexico to the mafias of Italy and the Yakuza of Japan, we've seen how these groups have amassed power, wealth, and influence. It's a dark side of humanity, but it's important to understand how these organizations operate and the impact they have on the world. They thrive on violence, corruption, and exploitation. These groups have left a bloody trail through history, and their influence is still felt today. It's a scary thought, but it's the reality we live in. If you found this exploration into the criminal underworld as fascinating as I did, hit that like button and subscribe to Life 365 for more deep dives into the world's most notorious figures and organizations. And let me know in the comments which organization you found the most crazy. Until next time, stay curious and stay safe out there.